I never thought I'd come home from work to find a complete stranger's junk piled high in my garage, especially after someone had cut the lock clean off the door like it was nothing. At first, I thought maybe there had been a mistake, like someone confused my place with theirs. But then I saw her. Karen. Not just any Karen, the Karen from 2 doors down who always had something to complain about. Whether it was about our grass being too long or our recycling bins being out too early, she was always in everyone's business. But this took it to a whole new level. She actually broke into my garage. And why? To store her old, dusty furniture, broken lamps, and what looked like the leftovers from 3 failed yard sales. I was shocked. I mean, who does that? And more importantly, why would someone think that's okay? When I confronted her, she acted like I was the crazy one, as if it was no big deal. "You weren't using it anyway," she said. I thought, it'd be fine. But here's where it gets wild. What Karen didn't know, what nobody knew, was that my garage wasn't exactly empty. Parked right there behind a tarp was a car temporarily being held by a police task force. Yeah, that kind of task force. And they were very clear with me. Don't move it, don't touch it, and definitely don't let anyone near it. So imagine their reaction when I called and told them someone had broken in and left a mountain of stuff practically leaning on the car. Let's just say things escalated fast. Karen thought she was just taking some temporary space. She had no idea she'd just walked into a situation that would bring officers swarming to her front door. And that's just the beginning. Now, before I get into what happened next, let me back up a bit and explain how we even got here. A few weeks before all this, a family friend who works in law enforcement asked me for a favor. There was a vehicle involved in an ongoing investigation. Nothing too dramatic, just part of some quiet surveillance work the task force was doing, and they needed a low-key place to store it for a few days. My garage was perfect. I was told not to talk about it, not to draw attention to it, and definitely not to let anyone mess with the car. So I locked it up, moved my stuff aside, and pretty much stayed out of the garage completely. It was supposed to be simple. But Karen must have noticed I hadn't been going in and out of the garage like usual. Maybe she thought it was just sitting empty. Or maybe more likely, she just didn't care. That's kind of her style. Acts first, thinks never. The lock was literally cut clean off. Not picked, not jimmied. Cut. Like she brought tools. And then she had the nerve to dump old shelves, bags of clothes, and even a treadmill that looked like it hadn't worked in years. She had been sneaking her stuff in for who knows how long. What's even weirder? When I looked through her pile of junk, I noticed something strange. Tucked in between 2 broken cabinets was a dusty storage bin, and inside it, stacks of what looked like papers, folders, even a few sealed envelopes. I didn't go digging, but something about it felt off. Almost like she wasn't just cleaning out her basement, like she was hiding something. And the worst part? That task force vehicle was parked just a few feet away, completely surrounded by all this mess. I had no idea what I was about to get dragged into. So now I'm standing there, garage wide open, Karen's junk everywhere, and this sealed bin staring at me like it's hiding the rest of the story. I didn't touch it. I wasn't trying to mess with anything, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. What was she trying to keep out of sight? I mean, breaking into someone's property just to store junk is already bold, but sneaking in, documents and sealed envelopes? That's another level. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying everything. Her casual attitude, the cut lock, the way she said, "You weren't using it anyway." Like it was hers to take. But there was something else bothering me. A few days before all this, I saw a black SUV parked outside her house late at night. I didn't think much of it at the time. It's a quiet neighborhood and people have guests. But now I couldn't help but wonder. Could it have been connected to whatever she stashed in my garage? Or worse, was she already being watched by someone? The next morning, I called the officer who dropped off the task force vehicle. I didn't go into full detail yet. I didn't want to panic anyone, but I let them know someone had entered the garage without permission. Their tone changed instantly. I could hear the shift in their voice, like something serious just clicked. They said they'd send someone over to check things out right away and told me not to move a single item. Meanwhile, Karen acted like nothing had happened. She was outside watering her lawn, waving at neighbors, smiling like she hadn't just broken into someone's garage and triggered a possible law enforcement response. The contrast was almost creepy. And while all of this was happening, I started noticing more strange things. People walking by our street who didn't look familiar, a white van that circled the block twice, even a drone hovering overhead one. Afternoon. Something was going on, and it wasn't just about some old junk. A couple days later, things took a turn I wasn't ready for. That morning, I walked outside and noticed the bin, the one with the papers, was gone. Everything else was still there. The broken treadmill, the shelves, even the random pile of junk mail she must have tossed in. But the one thing that had caught my attention, the one thing that felt out of place, had just vanished. I hadn't touched anything, and the officer told me they hadn't sent anyone yet. So now, I was dealing with a break-in after the break-in. I started checking my security camera footage, and that's when things got weirder. At around 3:13 a.m., the camera picked up movement in the driveway. A person, totally covered in a hoodie and gloves, quietly entered through the side gate and went straight for the garage. They were in and out in less than 2 minutes. No hesitation. They knew exactly what they were looking for. No fumbling, no searching. Just straight to that bin. Gone, like it had never been there. Later that day, the officers finally showed up. I showed them everything. The video, the junk pile, where the bin used to be. Their faces said more than their words did. They kept things tight-lipped, but I could tell this wasn't just about trespassing anymore. One of them made a call. On the spot, talking in that low, serious tone that made the hair on my neck stand up. And then, one of the other officers quietly asked me, "Has your neighbor ever mentioned anyone watching her?" That's when it hit me. This wasn't just Karen being nosy or selfish. There was something deeper going on. The envelopes, the van, the drone, none of it felt random anymore. Whatever was in that bin was important. And somehow, it had ended up in my garage. Now the task force was involved, my property was under watch, and Karen, well, she still hadn't said a word, just kept pretending nothing was wrong. But something big was coming. I could feel it. The very next evening, just when I thought things couldn't get any stranger, I got a knock on the door. It wasn't the police this time. It was a man in a suit. Clean cut, no badge showing, but definitely not just a random visitor. He said he was federal, but didn't flash any ID. He asked me questions, not just about Karen, but about me, who I talk to, who visits the house, if I'd noticed anyone following me lately. The whole time, he kept glancing over my shoulder, like he expected someone to jump out behind me. It wasn't just intense, it was unnerving. After he left, I stepped out to get some air, only to see Karen across the street again, pacing in her yard. But this time, she wasn't her usual loud and chatty self. She looked stressed, phone in, hand constantly checking over her shoulder. And then, for the first time since the garage incident, she walked toward my house. I didn't know what to expect. An apology, maybe? Or another excuse. But when she got to my driveway, she just stopped, looked me dead in the eye and said, "If anyone asks, I was never in your garage. You don't know me like that." That was it. No explanation. No reason. Just a warning. And the way she said it? It didn't feel like a threat. It felt like fear, like she knew something was closing in and she was scrambling. My head was spinning. Was she hiding from someone dangerous? Had I stumbled into something criminal without even knowing it? Just when I thought I couldn't be more confused, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You need to get that car out of your garage. Now. No name, no context. But it was clear, someone else was watching. And if they knew about the vehicle, it meant the situation had officially gone from weird to dangerous. By the next morning, I knew I couldn't just sit around waiting for something to happen. I called the officer who originally dropped off the task force vehicle and told him everything. About the bin disappearing, the man in the suit, Karen's warning, even the anonymous text. He told me to stay put and lock everything down. Within the hour, 2 black SUVs pulled up outside my house, and suddenly it was like something out of a movie. Armed officers moved fast, quiet, straight into my garage. I didn't even ask what they were doing. I just stepped back and let it happen. That same hour, a 3rd car pulled up down the street, right in front of Karen's house. She tried to run. I'm not kidding, run. But they were already on her before she hit the sidewalk. Handcuffed and silent, she was placed in the back of a cruiser, no fight left in her. One of the agents later told me she wasn't just storing junk. She was tied to an ongoing fraud and identity theft investigation that crossed state lines. The papers in the bin? Fake documents, bank records, even a few forged IDs. She'd been using empty properties around the neighborhood to stash evidence and stay under the radar. My garage was just another hiding spot, until she picked the wrong one, and the car. That was the real kicker. Turns out the vehicle was part of a sting operation. It had a tracking device hidden inside, and the task force was using it to monitor movements connected to a bigger case. What nobody expected was that Karen, or whoever she was really working with, would get close enough to it to spook the entire operation. You'd think that was the end of it, right? But here's the twist. A week after everything calmed down, I got another message, same unknown number. It just said, she wasn't working alone. No name, no explanation. And now, every time I hear a drone or see a car parked too long outside, I can't help but wonder who else was in on it. After that final message, I couldn't ignore how deep this really went. I gave everything I had to the authorities, footage, details about the unknown visitors, even the text messages. They told me the investigation was still active, and that I'd likely be asked to testify down the road. Turns out, Karen had been part of a small network using quiet neighborhoods like mine to stash illegal documents and items, using empty garages and sheds as their own storage units. I never would have guessed something like that was happening. 2 doors down. Eventually, the task force vehicle was removed, and the garage was cleared out. It felt strange seeing it empty again, like nothing had happened. But of course, everything had changed. Karen's house sat dark and empty, her car towed away, and no one ever came back to collect the rest of her junk. The neighbors started asking questions, but I kept it vague. Just a misunderstanding, I'd say. No one really needed to know just how close we'd all been to something serious. In the weeks that followed, I upgraded all my locks, added more security cameras, and even put motion lights on the side of the house. Paranoia? Maybe. But after all that, I wasn't taking any chances. And while life slowly got back to normal, a part of me stayed on edge. That final message still lingers in my mind. She wasn't working alone. Maybe there's more to come. Maybe not. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that sometimes the biggest stories hide in plain sight. A nosy neighbor, a broken lock, and a garage full of junk turned into something I'll never forget. Keep your eyes open, because you never really know what's going on just beyond your own driveway.